We have team coverage on the death of Detective James Skirnovitz, including Tiffany Tarpley with details on his life and his years of service, and investigator Rachel Polanski with what we are learning tonight about the other man who was shot and killed.
But we begin with the latest on the investigation. Here's Mark Namick.
3 people are in custody in the connection to the fatal shooting Thursday night of undercover detective James Skirnovitz. The 53-year-old veteran officer was working in an unmarked car near West 65th Street in a neighborhood known for drug activity when someone opened fire around 10 p.m., hitting him in the chest. Skirnovitz managed to drive from the scene but crashed into a nearby playground. His passenger, 50-year-old Scott Dingus of Cleveland, was also fatally shot, though police wouldn't discuss his connection.
There's a question from a reporter about the duties of Detective Skirnovitz that night and the person that was with him. Again, we're still deep into this investigation. There's a lot more work to be done. We're still asking for people with information to give that information. We're not going to get into the details of what his assignment was that night, but he was doing his duty to protect the citizens of this city, and we'll leave it at that.
By mid-afternoon Friday, the U.S. Marshals and Cleveland police arrested 3 people on unrelated warrants in separate raids on the city's west side. 2 are juveniles.
There are 3 folks, persons of interest, that are arrested on unrelated warrants right now. We think there is a connection to those 3 and maybe others.
Skirnovitz worked in the police department's gang unit and was sworn in just Wednesday to work in the Northern Ohio Violent Crimes Task Force, a partnership between federal and local agencies that investigates violent crime. The chief was asked several times in a late afternoon press conference again to talk about what unfolded here last night. They're not ready to do it. He mentioned the people arrested today. They haven't been charged yet, and again, 2 are juveniles. Now, more about the detective who gave his life. Tiffany Tarpley has that story.
Yeah, Mark, as you know, this is a tough time for the Cleveland police family. It is raw. They are very emotional as they deal with the loss of one of their own. Serving 22 years on the Cleveland police force, Chief Calvin Williams calls Detective James Skirnovitz a policeman's policeman.
Skirn, as a lot of folks out there called him, again, he was the one that, we want to duplicate over and over again because he did the work the way it should have been done.
Skirnovitz was assigned to the gang unit and most recently sworn into the federal initiative, which has extended to Cleveland, called Operation Legend.
He worked hard for the city that he loved. He worked hard to take care of his family, and he worked hard to take care of his fellow officers.
A family man, leaving behind a wife and 2 adult children. I also reached out to a friend of the family on Facebook who says Jim, as he calls him, was a great cop, an even better person. He calls Skirnovitz one of a kind. And so he was also a part of the Honor Guard, and he served at Progressive Field as well, keeping fans there safe, Lena. Tonight, the Indians, they plan to have their flags fly at half-staff as well. They will also have a moment of silence.
Yeah, many wanting to express their sorrow tonight. Tiffany, thank you.
Cleveland police also mourning the loss of another officer, Officer Nicholas Sabo, who took his own life overnight.
Nick took his life, and we're saddened by that. We're trying to get to the bottom of why. And as the director stated, any officer out there that needs help, they need to give us a call. That number for the county suicide prevention hotline, as well as our employee assistance with Sergeant Melissa Dawson and her folks, they do an excellent job. Just reach out to them or call one of your buddies on the shift so that we can make sure that you get the help and the attention you need. For the residents and the people out there, keep sending us your prayers. We appreciate it.
Chief Calvin Williams. By the way, here's the number for the Cuyahoga County Suicide Prevention Hotline. It is 216-623-6888. You heard Chief Williams there. He says if you or anyone you know needs help, please reach out. Again, that number is 216-623-6888. And now to the second man killed alongside Detective Skirnovitz. He has been identified as 50-year-old Scott Dingus. 3 News investigator Rachel Polanski has looked into their relationship and why the 2 were together last night.
Multiple police sources tell us that Scott Dingus was there working with the undercover detective as an informant, though 3 News has not been able to independently confirm that with police. So here's what we do know. Dingus was facing aggravated theft charges and was free on bond when he met with Detective Skirnovitz on the city's west side last night. Court records obtained by 3 News Investigate shows that Dingus, a native of West Virginia, had a lengthy criminal history in Cuyahoga and Lorain counties dating back to 2009. The majority of his cases involved drug and theft charges. Though in West Virginia in 2017, Dingus was charged after he allegedly hit a woman with his car and drove off. The woman apparently tried to stop him and his wife from shoplifting. Ohio prison records show he was also on parole for a 2013 theft case in Cuyahoga County. While in prison, he wrote several letters to a judge in a desperate bid for early release. He said his mother and his wife were also in prison, leaving his 2 daughters without family. And when 3 News Investigates asked Cleveland Police Chief Calvin Williams to tell us more about the relationship between Dingus and Detective Skirnovitz, he said he couldn't comment because this is an active investigation. Rachel Plansky, 3 News.
We have complete coverage of all this, including information on the FBI's reward and more of Cleveland City leaders' reaction. That's on our 3 News app and at WKYC.com.